very special book signing or book presentation event. And the first thing I am very happy about is that there are so many of you. And the second thing is that so many of you have already had the chance to get the book signed, that you haven't been typical, as Estonians always are, too shy to approach the author. So thank you for you being so active. So I think something is missing. Somebody is missing from this small stage, and I am very happy to invite him to be here with me. So the ambassador. The bestest friends of Estonia, Alleni, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Romi, and thank you for hosting the event and doing the Q&A. Much appreciated. Hi, everyone.
So when I thought that I should say a few kind words about you, just a few sentences to begin with, I thought, what could they be? And then I got a copy of the book a few days ago. And somebody called Tom Peck from The Times has said exactly what I would have thought to say. So if you don't mind, I just read those three very short but very exact, or how do I say, very precise sentences. Ross Allen is everything you could hope for in an ambassador. Highly intelligent, charming, and entertaining company. There is so much we can learn from Estonia. We are lucky to have Alan as our guide. I think I could agree, and I think we all could agree with that. So we have organized this event the way that I ask some questions, and we'll do it in English. So I really hope that most of you understand when we talk mostly in English. But as you know, Ross is also fluent in Estonian, so maybe a few Estonian sentences will pop in. And after about 20 minutes, you can think of your own questions if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to. And then just have a third microphone. Just give a small sign with a hand, and then we can have some questions from the audience if you feel like it. And after the conversation, then you all, if you haven't had a chance yet, you can get an autograph and get a photo, and you can say what you think about all this. So to start with, I ask this very typical Estonian question, mostly used by our sports press. How do you feel?
Thank you very much, Romi. I feel quite excited. I was very happy to come in and see a big stack of the books on there. I had 1 or 2 copies, but it's nice seeing lots
even
of
more in the back, I think.
It's amazing. It's my favourite Estonian word, uskumatu. It is uskumatu.
Okay, but to start to talk about the project, when did it first come to your mind that you can do something like this?
So the book started by accident, like all good things. Mark Merry is here. Mark, you wave. There he is. We were hosting an event at the British residence to celebrate the translation of Hõbevalge, Silver White, into English. And the publisher afterwards was having a glass of wine with me, and he said, I'd like to publish more books about Estonia, because there's lots of interest in Estonia. Do you know anyone who's got an idea for a good book about Estonia? I said, me! And I don't think he thought I was serious, but I followed up and I sent him my proposal and he liked it, and that was the genesis of the book. But I guess in the back of my mind, for a long time, as I was travelling around Estonia and doing my job, was just this growing sense that Estonia is fantastically good at loads of different things, and this is not very well known externally. And I also had the impression from my Estonian friends, some of whom are here, that they all told me that no Estonian is going to write a book like this, because you are tagasi hoidlik, like modest. So they said, yes, you should write it, because it actually needs a foreigner to tell the rest of the world how great Estonia is. So that was the origin of the book.
But how does it work? Like you work for the British government? Do you have to get like an official permission to write things like that?
You do have to get permission, and I did get permission, which is important. So I sent a message back to London and said I'd like to write this book. And they were a bit suspicious and said, what is the book about? And I said, it's basically a book about how great Estonia is. And they said, well, that sounds fine. That's highly unlikely to offend anybody. And then they said you can sign the contract and write it, but then also when it's finished, you have to send it to us. And they send it to somebody whose job, brilliantly, is called a sensitivity reviewer. And I sent it to this person, and about 2 weeks later I was really worried, because they can either say, no, you cannot publish this at all, or they could say, delete all of chapter 6, or all of these different sentences. But a couple of weeks later I got an email saying, it's fine, all of it is fine, you don't have to remove anything, and I even quite enjoyed it. So I thought I could put on the back of the book. The Foreign Office, I even quite enjoyed it.
So Ross, chapter 6 is titled The Free Society.
Oh. That's
Did you accidentally choose a number?
Free Society, no, that was at random. I picked a number at random. All the chapters are equally okay. There is one that features the story about my wife and I going swimming naked in a bog. She is distraught to find out that this is in the book. But it's okay, so somewhere in there is a story about that, but I didn't have to take that bit out either. My kids are here as well, my wife and my kids are in front where they give a little wave. Because they're here, I'd like to say a big thank you to Susie and my kids for being amazing and not minding while I disappeared to write my book occasionally. They put up with me being even busier than normal.
So, yeah, you mentioned that you disappeared for writing, but how was the process? Did you have any notes? Or did you have anything like recorded in your phone? Or did you have a diary? Or how did it work?
I had absolutely nothing except my brain, so all of it was in my brain. So all the good thing was I didn't need to sort of do loads more, travel around Estonia and talk to lots more people, because I think most of it was in my brain already. But some of the people in the room will know that I sort of either phoned them and asked them things, or occasionally sent people chapters to say, can you have a quick look at this chapter and tell me if it's basically okay, or any factual errors. I don't know if it's Illimar here. Illimar Lepik. Yeah, Illimar is a special shout out to Illimar, who patiently reviewed the history chapter and also very patiently corrected me when I had put Soviet Union when I needed Soviet Russia and vice versa and things like that. So Illimar in particular looked at several chapters and especially the history. But as they always say, the errors are still mine. So do not blame Illimar if there are historical errors. But Illimar and lots of other people here were really helpful with the book.
So what aspects of Estonia did you cover in the book? Like some are quite known, like our technological companies and so, but maybe there are also some less known sides of Estonia.
So, yeah, I think in chapter order they get gradually less known. So some of them have other people have written about, so like digital government and all your brilliant tech companies and unicorns. And then the education system, I think it's now pretty well known in lots of the rest of the world how fantastic your schools are. And then as we sort of kept going, I wrote a whole chapter about freedom, because Estonia tops lots of these freedom indices that are published internationally. And then there was one chapter that you can probably tell I kind of had to squash two subjects together. So that's why there is a chapter on singing and saunas. But the link is that they are both UNESCO recognised, the Song Festival and your smoke saunas and so on. So that they kind of made a chapter. And things like nature, I realised that you were really high up, lots of indices of nature protection and so on, and that's one of the things I almost miss about Estonia is your fantastic natural environment. So yeah, some of them I guess have been written about a bit before, and I tried to be a bit more creative in the latter chapters.
So did you find an explanation why Estonian tech companies are so brilliant?
Oh my god, I could talk for hours about just that, but I think combination, the answer to most of these in each chapter, why you're so good at something, sadly, is there isn't one reason, otherwise it'd be really easy to copy. But for the tech companies, I think part of it is the digital government side of things, like everything here is digital. Then it also comes back to the education system. I think you're educating all your children to be fantastic in particularly STEM subjects, maths and computing and so on. And then also really good partnership between the government and the private sector. So I think one of the things you do really well here is that people don't necessarily spend their whole career in government or their whole career in business, but people move more perhaps than in other countries, move back and forth. And then I think that there's also, I think I write about quite a lot, this like Skype effect. So there's actually a debate among Estonians how important that is. So some people say it was super important that the 4 early employees at Skype all made an enormous amount of money and founded other companies, and loads of people here, including people in this room, worked at Skype and then worked in Wise and Bolt and elsewhere. And actually other people said this was kind of accidental, and the main thing was the education system and the IT leap, this Tigri Huppa, so the big investment into computing and getting online and so on in the sort of 90s and the early 2000s. So I think it was all of those things which makes it a bit harder for other countries to copy, but it was all those things together.
But in the book, do you also cover areas in which Estonians are not so good, or are you afraid to piss us off?
I did. I debated with myself, can I include a few areas where maybe you could do better? And I decided that you need the appropriate ratio. And I decided that if I write 10 chapters about how fantastic Estonia is in 10 different areas, then you would permit me one half chapter at the end. There is an appendix called What Estonia Could Learn from the Rest of the World. And I have given you 3 very gentle suggestions at the end. And I hope that you will allow me, because I am so obviously a massive fan of Estonia in general, and you won't kick me out tomorrow. In case you're interested, the 3 things in brief. One is customer service in some shops, but crucially not Rahva Raamat. But customer service in Rahva Raamat is superb. So customer service, but not here. And I think there are certain gender issues, like that you still have objectively the highest gender pay gap in the EU, and I know it's coming down. Like the most recent statistics, that pay gap had reduced. But I think you could do a bit better on that.
Do you know the word in Estonian?
I don't know gender pay gap. Is it?
Palgalõhe.
Palgalõhe. Lõhe also salmon. It's the same word for salmon as gap. What's the third one? Even though I wrote a whole chapter about the environment and how you are number 1 in the Environmental Performance Index. So Yale and Columbia Universities do an annual survey and they produce an Environmental Performance Index. I think it has 130 different measures, and Estonia is number 1. So despite the fact you're number 1, in this little annex, I still say that you could do better on things like renewable energy. So when I look at Estonia, I see a country where lots of, like the mainland is sparsely populated, and you could put in loads more wind power and solar and batteries, and also the Baltic Sea is perfect for wind. It's shallow and it's windy. And I know you've built lots of renewables already, which is great, but I still think probably you could have built a bit more if you really wanted to. So I'm encouraging you to go even further on the environmental stuff.
But all in all, I'd say that you are more positive about Estonia than most of Estonians. Why is that?
I mean, maybe I'm positive about everything. I think like Susie is nodding. I think I'm generally quite enthusiastic about whatever I do. But maybe it just takes an outsider to come in and see what's actually happening. And I think I travel around. I just came everywhere I went. I came away with really positive impressions. I did a TV interview about this yesterday, and a question came up, which I think I should acknowledge, which is I haven't written really in the book about the economy, and I do recognise that the last few years, like the Estonian economy has been fairly rocky, and it hasn't seen much growth and so on. So I do get it that someone like an Estonian might read my book and say, this is great for you as a foreigner, paid for by the UK taxpayers, and you live in a nice house in Pirita, etc. But actually, I haven't seen a pay rise for a few years, so don't tell me that Estonia is so fantastic. And they would have a bit of a point. Like I know here, the government really wants to try and get more growth. That's a big focus in the UK. Is how do we get the economy growing again? So I'm not claiming that everything's perfect, and that's also why I put in a little annex with some suggestions about things that could be better. But I do wish you were all more, like those Estonians in the room, all a tiny bit more proud publicly, because it is a fantastic country and you've got so much to be proud of. And I hope the book will encourage people to be like even more proud. Or you can just quietly buy it for people and send it to them, and then you don't have to have a conversation.
How well known is Estonia in UK? I mean, if you see a book like that in a bookstore in London, are people going like, what is this? What is Estonian Lessons?
So I also did a podcast a couple of weeks ago in the UK, and the host of the podcast said, Ross, I need you to keep it super basic. And he said, the first question is going to be, where is Estonia? So he genuinely asked me first, he said, where is it? So I basically said, right, Germany, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, water, Finland. And then he was like, yeah, that was ideal, keep it super basic. But I think over the last few years, knowledge of Estonia has grown quite a lot in the UK. But anecdotally, I was back a couple of weeks ago and I saw adverts for several Estonian things on the London Underground. So there were loads of adverts for the Conrad Maggie exhibition that's happening in London. And there were adverts for LHV Bank, for Brits to take out a bank account with LHV, which is cool. And there are Starship robots all over the UK, which is partly why I put the Starship robot on the front cover. And yeah, Bolt is Estonian and is quite popular in the UK now. So I think you're growing, awareness of Estonia in the UK is growing. I also think Kaja Kallas really grew awareness of Estonia from all the many interviews she did when she was PM here, and now she's representing the whole EU. And then there's also a niche group of Brits who love Estonia because they are classical music fans, and they have been celebrating Arvo Pärt's 90th birthday. So there's a lot of classical music fans definitely know Estonia too.
And a few last questions from me, and after that, then if you have some questions from the audience, we are welcoming those as well. The book at the moment is published in English. Is there an Estonian version also coming, or how is it?
Ma küsisin kirjastajal ja ta vastas võib-olla, tõenäoliselt, aga võib-olla sa saad tõlkida, Romi, kui sul ei ole kiire. I've asked the publisher if there can be an Estonian language version, and he said maybe, probably. What we need is lots of demand for an Estonian version, so you have to email Hearst Publishing and say, please do an Estonian version. But I would really like it if there is. And the other question I've been asked is, is there going to be an audio version, and could I narrate the audio version in Estonian? I think that would be terrible for Estonians to have to listen to. A foreigner mangling their language for sort of 6 hours. We'll see, but yeah, short answer is hopefully there will be an Estonian version at some point, maybe in time for Christmas.
And most of you maybe know that you're planning leaving us in July. What about that?
It's true, it's very sad. All good things have to come to an end eventually. Possibly that publishing a book about how great Estonia was may have made some people in London think it's time I need to leave. Who knows? But yeah, the way our jobs work, I was given 4 years with the option of a 5th year, and I managed to get the 5th year, but 5 is the sort of absolute maximum. So in July, Susie and I, and Vivi, and Ray, and Lenny, who are all there, we are all moving back to the UK, and we now have an idea where we're going to be living, which is good, and we're trying to sort out all of the other sort of logistical issues of moving back to the UK. If anyone here would like to buy a second-hand Volvo, the Volvo is available, and there are mates rates.
Aside is the steering wheel.
We bought it here. It's not a funny British version of a Volvo. And before anyone else, I don't know exactly what I will be doing work-wise in the future, but I am also working on that to try to make sure I can still put food on the table for the family.
Maybe the book will sell.
I don't think so, no. If anyone here ever thinks that writing a book will make you rich, it doesn't. It's more of a hobby. So a labour of love is the best way to describe it.
And the last question from the stage. What will you miss most about Estonia? You can always visit, I think.
It's true, you can definitely visit, although I think if you leave as an ambassador, it's quite important to give the next ambassador a little bit of space. So I'm not planning to leave in July and then come back for a holiday in August, because I think that'd be a bit weird and not make things very easy for the new ambassador. I also want to say that our new ambassador, who I have met, and she visited recently to have a look around and meet colleagues, is really lovely, and I hope you will all be very nice to her, and she'll be a fantastic ambassador. I'm going to miss colleagues. I've got several colleagues in the room, like Marco, who took loads of the photos in the book and did a brilliant job. And also Philip's here at the front and other colleagues. So I'm going to miss some fantastic colleagues at the embassy. Also loads of brilliant Estonian friends and other members of the diplomatic community here and people in business and the Estonian Foreign Ministry and so on. So all our friends here, we will miss lots. And we will come back and visit, but after we've left a sort of suitably respectful gap. Susie and I have had a debate whether we can, later in life, maybe get an apartment in Pärnu or something for our retirement. That is under discussion. Let me put it like that.
But you have learned Estonian language so well, so you have to come back in some way, because otherwise it will won't be so useful.
It's true, although I'm hoping we'll find some Estonians where we're moving to in the UK. So we're planning to live in a small town quite near Oxford. And because you are such clever people in Estonia, I'm pretty sure there are quite a lot of Estonians in Oxford. So hopefully there will be a sort of monthly Estonian-speaking pub night or something that I can join in Oxford and keep up my Estonian as best I can. I will try.
I'm very thankful for all the answers, and now, as you have maybe noticed, we have third microphone, and you can kind of just give a sign with your hand. Maybe I have asked all the necessary questions already. That's okay as well. I understand if you want to just, we have at least one question from the fourth row.
When I do a talk at an Estonian school, I always give a prize to the child who asks the first question to try to encourage questions, but you don't get a prize, sorry.
It's okay. Ross, let me first thank you and your family for being such a great friend to Estonia. And now to the question. Sure thing to get the Estonian affection is to learn Estonian language and to sing in the laulupidu. So did you figure that out yourself or somebody hinted you?
Thank you very much. Actually, Susie can back me up on this. I think when I got the job, I was told I was coming here in 2020, and even then I'd emailed colleagues at the embassy and said, I've heard that singing is really big in Estonia. Someone had told me that lots of people here are in choirs, and so I said I want to join a choir, and eventually they came back to me and they said, oh, we think we found a choir which is for diplomats and it sings in English. And I said, no, that sounds terrible. I want to join a proper choir that sings in Estonian. And then I got here, and a couple of embassy colleagues at the time, Clelia and Barney, were both singing in the Kalamaja Segakor. And I noticed a Kalamaja Segakor top here, the Meremehe Serk. That may be accidental. And I went along for an audition, and the audition was quite frightening because there were about 60 people in the room, and I thought I was just going to have to he was going to say, like, stand up and sing us a song. But luckily he waited till the break when everyone else went outside, and then he just played a few chords, and I had to sort of sing along or hum along, and he said, congratulations, you're a baritone. Go and sit over there with the baritones. And it turns out that joining a choir in Estonia is a lot easier if you are male. The standards are much, much lower. They're all desperate for men. Similarly, I don't understand why Estonian men who are single do not just join choirs. Because the ratio of women to men is about 90 to 10. But it's great. And then I went to choir practices nearly every Monday for 3 years. And singing in the song festival was amazing. Like, if I had to pick one moment, sort of non-professional, in my time here, singing in the song festival was amazing. You know, it only happens every 5 years. It was one of those events that was amazing, but I kind of enjoyed it more the next day and the day after, when I had calmed down a bit. Because on the day I was terrified of either being in the wrong place or singing at the wrong time. You don't want to be the one person who's like singing in a silent bit. So I was really, really focused on singing properly, and it was quite overwhelming. It was a lot of people, so I kind of enjoyed it more afterward. And then, how many times did I re-watch the video? A lot. Yeah, there was a lot of re-watching the video. Yeah.
10 times.
Ray, my son, my middle child, is saying 10 times minimum. Thank you.
Anyways, thank you.
Thanks.
Do we have any more questions in the back? Yeah? Second row? Yeah? From the family.
Your Excellency, aka Daddy. You've lived in Estonia for 5 years, right? I think I know that by now, but you, on April Fool's Day, posted some picture on Instagram saying, actually I prefer Latvia. And it got me thinking, do you know if there's some rivalry between Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania?
Good question, thank you.
Thank you very much, Vivian. Just to be clear, I don't make my children call me Your Excellency. Vivian is being very cheeky. Vivi, I did do an April Fool's, which I thought was quite fun. I just said, I did a pretend interview with ERR and said, British ambassador says, actually I've always preferred Latvia, which I think was quite in tune with the sort of Estonian sense of humour. I think there is a rivalry, but I hope that Estonia also has a rivalry with Finland and with Sweden and with all of the Nordic and Baltic countries.
They have jokes about each other.
Yeah, I've heard some of the jokes involve number of toes. So I'm not going to tell the joke because I don't really know which way round it goes. But one of my Estonian friends, Juhan, he told me there were only 2 things that were better in Latvia. He was willing to admit this as an Estonian.
The neighbour.
He's he said one, which is controversial. One of them was beer. He actually said he said particularly Valmiera muis. He said he thought overall Latvian beer was better. And this is controversial. I'm not saying he's correct. And the other one was kohuka. He claimed that karums were the best kohuka, and actually somehow karums were better than Estonian kohuka. I mean, this is deeply controversial. You know? Like the UK once had a war with Iceland over cod. There was literally a cod war, and you might have a kohuka war with Latvia. But yeah, I think they have a rivalry, but hopefully a rivalry with lots more neighbours as well. But thank you for your question, daughter.
Your Honour. We have one question in the back. Yeah. All right. So first of all, Ross, I would like to thank you, and I'm going to start crying. From the whole Estonian tech and startup community, what you've done to us, it's just been amazing. And you've been really, really not only good friend, not only good ambassador, but you've been door opener to both sides, right? And Susie, thank you. And continuing the question about economy and businesses. And continuing the question about Latvia. So you know when Estonian businesses go outside country, they either beat Latvia or Finland. Now that you know Estonia and you're from Great Britain, why would Estonian entrepreneurs choose UK instead of Finland or Latvia?
Okay, thank you very much. That's very, very kind of you, and I'm going to miss you all lots. And I also want to say a big thank you to all of you who wrote a very good letter about forestry in the last couple of days about the forests, and I very much agreed with all of what all of you wrote. On that question, happily, my previous job before Tallinn, I was in New York, and my job was basically to persuade American companies to choose the UK. So I ought to be reasonably good at pitching the UK. I have to be careful here because we have ambassadors from rival countries. So the Dutch ambassador is in the second row. But some of the arguments for doing stuff for moving to the UK or setting up an office in the UK, and I appreciate some of these apply to the Netherlands too. English language. Tax system. Your tax system's amazing, 10 years in a row, the best tax system in the world. But the British tax system is also reasonably business friendly. Universities, we have 3 of the world's top 10 universities, and I think 7 of the top 50. This maybe applies less for Estonians, but the legal system is good for doing business. Like lots of bits of the world use the English legal system. We also say, particularly for financial services, you can do business with Asia in the morning and with America in the afternoon because of time zones, that sort of thing. I don't think of other reasons. Those are some. We've been very successful on the tech side. So I think the stat we like to use is that our tech sector is bigger than the French, German, and Dutch tech sectors combined. Sorry, Sander, this is a bit mean. I always just say to some companies, if you're shipping physical products around Europe, maybe the Netherlands is better as a logistical hub in terms of like Schiphol and Rotterdam and stuff. So we have to be realistic. So I know the Netherlands is also very popular and also basically English speaking. I don't want to do down anywhere else, but I think the UK is still a fantastic place to do business. And it's been great to see, in my time here, to see lots of Estonian businesses going to the UK and being really successful is fantastic.
So I would like to thank you all very much. If you have any further questions, then I'm sure you can also ask them one more. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Coming back to learning Estonian, I have a short question. It's a two-part question. What was the hardest word to remember from Estonian language at first? And for second, what was the weirdest word when you're thinking? What the hell? Weirdest, yes. So.
Okay. So first part was the hardest words. I think some place names still give me problems. So I have a particular problem, for example, with Abia Paluoya, which is, I can only say it slowly, and I have to pull a really strange face. And also the place where I think of sausages as coming from, no. Again, I pull a really strange face while I'm trying to say no. And then ones that combine loads of vowels together, so like ebatõenäoline, which again makes me... I think one of the reasons Brits are not very good at Estonian is we don't move our mouths while speaking, and also we just tend to make one generic vowel noise for all vowels, which is a sort of So, by the way, Kadri is here. Can you give a wave? Kadri, my amazing Estonian teacher. Kadri is by far the best language teacher I've ever come across in my life. Particularly like, so patient at teaching me the same things again and again and again. And she's also the reason the book is called Estonian Lessons. It's a sort of pun. You know, it's lessons from Estonia, but also about my Estonian lessons. And two other things that Kadri did for me, which is great, apart from teaching me the language, she taught me loads about the country, so the subjects of what we were discussing was really useful. And also, it was like a weekly therapy session, because it was in Estonian. Even if my family were in the same room, they'd have no idea what Kadri and I were talking about. So it was a combination of the language and lots of Estonian history and culture, and also weekly therapy. So a big thank you to Kadri.
Thank you all for listening, and now we have time for a book signing. You can sign first and then pay for the book, or vice versa, how you prefer. And I think you can take photos, and if you have any private comments for Ross, then I think he welcomes those as well. So thank you for coming, aitäh tulemast, ilusat õhtut!